My girlfriend told me she's marrying her boss while on a business trip. What I did next. If you enjoy these crazy stories, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more. And hey, if you didn't like it, go ahead and hit dislike. I won't hold it against you. Let's get into it. My name is Ethan, and I'm 36, a software engineer with a meticulous nature and a deep-seated belief in the sanctity of commitment. For 6 years, my life was intricately woven with that of Amelia, 33, a marketing dynamo with a smile that could launch 1,000 campaigns and a persuasive charm that could sell ice to an Eskimo. We met at a pretentious art gallery opening, a clash of our worlds that somehow sparked a connection, a strange alchemy that felt like destiny. She was vibrant, a whirlwind of impulsive adventures and grand ideas, while I was the steady anchor, the one who planned, organized, and provided the stability she seemed to crave. We built a life together, a carefully curated blend of her spontaneity and my structure, a comfortable routine of weekend farmers markets, evenings spent binging obscure documentaries on ancient civilizations, and the quiet contentment of shared silences punctuated by her infectious laughter. We even talked about the future, a quaint Victorian house with a sprawling garden, a golden retriever named Archimedes, and the gentle patter of tiny feet, a life I envisioned filled with shared dreams and unwavering support. I was, in a word, foolishly optimistic. I was so convinced that we were building something indestructible, a fortress of love and commitment, that I failed to see the insidious cracks forming beneath my feet, the subtle signs of her impending betrayal. Amelia worked as a regional sales manager for a large pharmaceutical company, a role that demanded frequent travel, seemingly a glamorous life filled with conferences and client meetings. I, being the ever-trusting partner, never saw it as a problem, believing in the strength of our relationship and her unwavering loyalty. We were a modern couple, after all, independent and secure, with a strong foundation of mutual respect and open communication. I never felt the need to scrutinize her itinerary or question her motives, believing that our love was strong enough to withstand any distance or temptation. I prided myself on our open communication, our mutual respect, our unwavering trust. I was a fool to believe that our relationship was built on anything but a carefully constructed facade, a mask she wore to conceal her true intentions. The truth, as I would soon discover, was far more insidious, a web of deceit and manipulation that shattered my world. Amelia had been playing me for a fool, manipulating my trust and exploiting my naivete for her own selfish gains, using our relationship as a convenient cover for her secret affair. The signs were there, subtle at first, then increasingly blatant. But I, blinded by love and loyalty, chose to ignore them, dismissing them as mere quirks or temporary stress. I was about to learn a brutal lesson about the fragility of trust, the depths of human deception, and the painful reality that love can blind even the most discerning eyes. This particular business trip was a week-long conference in San Diego, a supposed gathering of industry professionals to discuss the latest advancements in pharmaceutical sales, a seemingly innocuous event. Amelia, however, seemed unusually excited, practically giddy, talking about the amazing networking opportunities and the chance to learn from the best, her eyes sparkling with a strange intensity that I mistook for professional ambition. Her boss, a man named Julian, was also attending. I'd met him a few times at company events, a slick, silver-tongued charmer in his late 40s with a reputation for being a ruthless negotiator and a notorious womanizer, a man whose presence always made me slightly uncomfortable. He always seemed to give Amelia an unsettling amount of attention, a lingering gaze, a casual touch that lingered a fraction too long, a whispered compliment that seemed a little too personal. I dismissed it as professional courtesy, telling myself I was being overly suspicious, letting my insecurities get the better of me. But a nagging feeling of unease persisted, a prickle of intuition that I stubbornly ignored, a silent warning that I chose to silence. I remember one evening at a company gala, Julian's hand lingered on Amelia's back as he congratulated her on a successful quarter, his eyes tracing the line of her dress a fraction too long, a slight smirk playing on his lips. I saw a flicker of unease in Amelia's eyes, quickly masked by a professional smile, but the tension was palpable, a silent exchange that I chose to dismiss, a warning sign I ignored. In the months leading up to the trip, Amelia's behavior underwent a disturbing transformation, a gradual shift that I failed to recognize as a sign of her impending betrayal. She became increasingly distant, her eyes glued to her phone, her fingers flying across the screen with an almost frantic energy, her face illuminated by the cold glow of the screen. She'd spend hours texting or scrolling through social media, often turning the screen away when I entered the room, her face flushed with a guilty blush, her eyes darting away nervously. Her phone, once a shared space for silly memes and travel photos, became a fortress, guarded and impenetrable, a secret world I was no longer privy to. She even changed her password, a move that stung more than I cared to admit, a clear sign that she was shutting me out, building a wall between us. I tried to talk to her about it, but she'd brush me off with vague excuses about work stress and demanding clients, her eyes darting away, her voice laced with a nervous edge, her body language screaming of secrets and lies. We'd also been arguing incessantly over the most trivial things like the placement of a throw pillow or the temperature of the thermostat, seemingly insignificant disputes that escalated into full-blown battles. She'd explode in a fit of rage, her voice dripping with venom, her words cutting like shards of glass, leaving me reeling and confused. She'd accuse me of being controlling, insensitive, and emotionally unavailable, accusations that left me bewildered, wondering where this sudden hostility was coming from. Then, she'd disappear into the bedroom, slamming the door with a force that rattled the entire apartment, leaving me alone with my confusion and hurt. I felt like I was constantly walking on eggshells, tiptoeing around her unpredictable moods, dreading the next outburst, the next verbal assault. I tried to reason with her to understand what was wrong, but she'd dismiss me with a wave of her hand, her eyes filled with contempt, her voice laced with sarcasm. It felt like she was deliberately provoking me, creating a chasm between us, preparing the ground for her ultimate betrayal, clearing the path for her escape. One evening, after a particularly heated argument about the placement of a framed picture, she paused, her eyes filled with a strange mixture of anger and something else, a flicker of hesitation that I couldn't quite decipher. For a moment, it seemed like she was about to say something, to confess something, but then she shook her head, her face hardening, and stormed off, leaving me with a sense of unease. Financially, things had been a little tight, a fact I attributed to the rising cost of living and our occasional splurges, believing that we were simply going through a rough patch. We had a joint account for shared expenses, and I'd noticed a series of withdrawals that didn't quite add up, small amounts at first, then larger sums that raised my eyebrows. I asked Amelia about them, and she gave me vague answers about unexpected bills, work-related expenses, and investments she was making, her eyes darting away, her voice laced with a nervous edge. I trusted her, so I didn't push it, believing that she had a reasonable explanation. But the discrepancies continued, and the doubts began to gnaw at me, a persistent ache in the pit of my stomach, a nagging feeling that something was amiss. Little did I know, she was draining our shared funds to finance her lavish rendezvous with Julian, buying him expensive gifts, indulging in opulent experiences, and funding their secret escapades, all while I was working hard to provide for our future. A few days before her trip, I was organizing our shared study, a space that had become increasingly neglected when I stumbled upon her travel itinerary. I noticed several things that raised red flags, glaring inconsistencies that shattered my illusions. Reservations at Michelin-starred restaurants, the kind we'd only dream of going to for a milestone anniversary, and hotel reservations at a luxurious beachfront resort, far more extravagant than what a typical business trip would entail. I saw multiple reservations, some for two, some for one, and some with Julian's name, his name appearing alongside hers in a way that made my blood run cold. I felt a cold dread creep into my heart, a chilling premonition of the truth, a sense of impending doom that settled in my bones. I tried to convince myself there was a perfectly logical explanation, that I was jumping to conclusions, but the evidence was staring me in the face, mocking my naivete, shattering my trust. The meticulously planned facade was crumbling, revealing the ugly truth beneath, exposing the betrayal that had been brewing for months. The scent of her perfume, a fragrance I had always associated with her, seemed to linger in the study, now a bitter reminder of her deceit. Amelia called me on the fifth day of her trip, late in the evening. I was watching a documentary about deep sea exploration, trying to distract myself from the gnawing anxiety that had taken root in my soul, a desperate attempt to escape the reality of my suspicions. I answered the phone, expecting a brief update about her day, a casual chat about the conference, a moment of normalcy in the chaos that had become my life. Instead, I was met with an unsettling silence, a pregnant pause that stretched on for an eternity. A silence that spoke volumes, a silence that foreshadowed the words that were about to shatter my world. "Ethan," she finally said, her voice strained and distant, like she was speaking through a thick fog, her words laced with a coldness that sent shivers down my spine. "I have something to tell you." My heart pounded in my chest, a sense of foreboding washing over me like a tidal wave, a premonition of the words that were about to shatter my world. "What is it?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper, a desperate attempt to delay the inevitable. "Julian and I were getting married." The words hung in the air, heavy and suffocating, like a physical blow, a punch to the gut that left me breathless. I felt the blood drain from my face, my vision blurring, my ears ringing. "What?" I managed to stammer, my voice thick with disbelief, a desperate attempt to deny the reality of what I was hearing, to convince myself it was a bad dream. "We're getting married," she repeated, her voice firmer this time, as if she were reciting a rehearsed script, a cold and calculated announcement. "We've been seeing each other for a while now, and we decided to make it official." I was numb, my mind refusing to process the information, the betrayal, the sheer audacity of her words. You're marrying your boss?" "Yes," she said, her voice cold and distant, devoid of any warmth or affection, her tone almost clinical. "I know this is a shock, but I'm happy, Ethan. I've never been happier." "Happy?" I repeated, my voice rising, a mixture of disbelief and rage, my emotions spiraling out of control. "You're telling me you're marrying someone else while you're on a business trip, a trip I paid for, and you're telling me you're happy? You're marrying the man you've been having an affair with for months?" "I didn't know how else to tell you," she said, her voice defensive, laced with a hint of impatience, as if I were inconveniencing her. "I wanted to tell you in person, but I thought this would be easier." "Easier?" I scoffed, a bitter, hollow sound that echoed in the empty apartment, a sound filled with pain and betrayal. "This is the worst possible way you could have told me. You've been lying to me for months, using me, betraying me, and you think this is easier? You're telling me this over the phone like I'm some distant acquaintance?" "I'm sorry," she said, but the words sounded hollow, devoid of any genuine remorse, a pathetic attempt to absolve herself of guilt. "I know this is going to be hard for you, but I hope we can still be friends." "Friends?" I laughed, a bitter, hollow sound that bordered on hysteria, a sound that reflected the shattered pieces of my heart. "After 6 years, you think we can be friends? You've destroyed everything, Amelia. You've destroyed our relationship, you've destroyed my trust, you've destroyed my faith in love, you've destroyed me." "I don't know what else to say," she said, her voice flat and emotionless, like she was talking to a stranger, her words devoid of any empathy. "I have to go. Julian is waiting for me." She hung up, leaving me sitting in the dark, the phone still pressed to my ear, the silence in the apartment deafening, a silence that amplified the turmoil within me. I felt a wave of nausea wash over me, followed by a burning rage that threatened to consume me, a desire to lash out, to scream, to smash something, to destroy everything in my path. But I just sat there, frozen, the reality of the situation sinking in, a cold, hard truth that shattered my world into a million pieces, leaving me broken, betrayed, and utterly alone. I felt the phantom ache of her touch, the memory of her laughter, and the burning sting of her betrayal. The next few days were a living nightmare, a relentless torment that eroded my spirit and consumed my thoughts, a dark and twisted reality I couldn't escape. I barely slept, barely ate, my body fueled by adrenaline and a burning desire for answers. I replayed the conversation over and over in my head, trying to make sense of the senseless, trying to reconcile the woman I thought I knew, the woman I loved, with the cold, calculating stranger who had shattered my heart. The woman who had become a phantom, a stranger in my own home. How could she do this? How could she betray me so completely, so callously, so cruelly? I felt like I had been living a lie, that our entire relationship, the past 6 years, had been a carefully constructed charade, a performance designed to deceive and manipulate me, a cruel game she had played with my heart. I would stare at the half-finished puzzle on the coffee table, a symbol of our unfinished life, or the wilted plant on the windowsill, now a testament to a dying love. I called my best friend Daniel and told him everything, pouring out my pain, my anger, my confusion, my overwhelming sense of betrayal. He was furious, his voice filled with righteous anger, his words laced with profanities I rarely heard him use, his concern for my well-being palpable. He urged me to confront her, to demand answers, to unleash the fury that was building inside me, to hold her accountable for her actions, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. Not yet. I was too hurt, too betrayed, too overwhelmed by a grief so profound it threatened to swallow me whole. A grief that felt like a physical weight on my chest, a constant ache in my soul. I felt like I was drowning in a sea of despair, lost in a vortex of confusion and pain, unable to find my way back to the surface. Daniel, who had seen his own marriage crumble years ago, understood the depth of my pain. "This isn't your fault, Ethan," he said, his voice firm. "She made her choice, and you'll come out stronger." I called my sister Sarah too, seeking solace and guidance, desperate for a voice of reason in the chaos that had become my life. She listened patiently, her voice filled with sympathy, her words laced with a quiet strength that I desperately needed, a strength that I felt was slipping away from me. She told me I was strong, that I would get through this, that I deserved better, that I was worthy of love and happiness. But her words offered little comfort, like a band-aid on a gaping wound, a temporary fix for a deep and festering injury. I felt like I was crumbling from the inside out, my spirit broken, my hope extinguished, my world turned upside down. Sarah, a seasoned therapist, offered more than just comfort. "Grief comes in waves, Ethan," she said. "Don't fight it, let it wash over you, and know that each wave will eventually recede." I spent hours staring at the ceiling, the darkness amplifying the turmoil within me, trying to understand what had gone wrong, searching for answers in the silence, trying to piece together the fragments of our relationship, trying to find a reason for her betrayal. Had I not been good enough? Had I not been attentive enough? Had I not been successful enough? Had I failed to see the warning signs, the subtle clues that hinted at her deception, the red flags that I had stubbornly ignored? I questioned everything, every moment, every interaction, searching for a different outcome, a way to rewind time and prevent this tragedy, a desperate attempt to rewrite the past. I felt like I was going crazy, trapped in a cycle of self-doubt and recrimination. My mind a relentless tormentor, my thoughts spiraling out of control. I remember the small moments, the way she'd flinch when I touched her phone, the way she'd avoid my gaze during dinner, the subtle shifts in her behavior that I had dismissed as stress. Then I remembered the financial discrepancies, the fancy restaurant reservations, the expensive hotel, the blatant evidence of her deceit. The anger began to push aside the grief, a burning rage that ignited within me, fueling my determination to seek justice, to protect myself, to expose the truth. I wasn't just heartbroken. I was being played, manipulated, and financially exploited, used as a pawn in her selfish game. I felt like a fool, like I'd been played for a sucker, my trust used against me in the most callous and calculated way imaginable, my love and loyalty betrayed in the most brutal way possible. The woman I loved, the woman I thought I knew, had revealed herself to be a master manipulator, a cold-hearted opportunist who had used me for her own selfish gain, a wolf in sheep's clothing. The anger gave me a sense of purpose, a driving force that propelled me forward, a burning desire to seek justice and protect myself from further harm. I realized I couldn't just sit around and wallow in self-pity, letting her get away with her betrayal. I had to take action, to fight back, to reclaim my life, and to hold her accountable for her actions. I called a lawyer, a sharp, no-nonsense woman named Rebecca, recommended by Sarah, a lawyer known for her tenacity and her expertise in family law and financial fraud. I told her everything, pouring out my heart, my anger, my pain, my suspicions, about Amelia's betrayal, about the financial discrepancies, about my suspicions of infidelity, about the travel itinerary I had found, the evidence that pointed towards her deceit. She listened carefully, her expression grim, her eyes flashing with a steely determination, her voice calm and reassuring. "We need to move quickly," she said, her voice firm and decisive, her words like a lifeline in the darkness. "We need to protect your assets, and we need to gather evidence to expose her deception, to build a strong case against her, and to ensure that you receive what is rightfully yours." We discussed our joint accounts, our shared investments, the house we had bought together, the car we shared, the future we had planned, now shattered beyond repair. Rebecca advised me to transfer everything to my mother's account, to safeguard it from Amelia's potential legal maneuvers, to protect myself from further financial exploitation. It was a drastic move, but I was desperate, driven by a fear of losing everything I had worked so hard for, everything we had built together, everything that represented my future. I didn't want to lose my home, my savings, my future, not after losing everything else. I felt like I was in a war, a battle for my life, and I had to fight back to protect myself and to reclaim what was rightfully mine. Rebecca's office was a stark contrast to the warmth of our apartment, all sharp angles and cold efficiency, a fitting backdrop to the legal battle ahead. I also asked Rebecca to look into Amelia's activities to see if there was any concrete evidence of her infidelity, any proof that would expose the extent of her betrayal, any evidence that would support our case against her. I wanted answers. I wanted to know how long this had been going on. I wanted to understand the depth of her deception, to unravel the web of lies she had spun, and to hold her accountable for the pain she had caused. A few days later, Rebecca called me with some shocking news, information that confirmed my worst fears and ignited a firestorm of rage within me, evidence that shattered the last remnants of my illusions. She had obtained copies of Amelia's credit card statements and bank records, and the evidence was damning, irrefutable proof of her betrayal and financial exploitation. They revealed a meticulously planned pattern of extravagant spending, much of it coinciding with Julian's travel schedule, a clear indication of their clandestine relationship. There were also numerous transactions at jewelry stores, luxury boutiques, exclusive hotels, and high-end restaurants, all far beyond Amelia's usual spending habits, a trail of breadcrumbs that led directly to her deceit. It was clear that Amelia had been using our joint funds, my hard-earned money, to finance her lavish affair with Julian, buying him expensive gifts, indulging in opulent experiences, and funding their secret escapades, all while I was working hard to provide for our future, believing in her loyalty and honesty. She had been living a double life, a life of luxury and deceit, all at my expense, a betrayal that cut deeper than any physical wound. The sterile, impersonal atmosphere of Rebecca's office seemed to amplify the coldness of Amelia's actions. I felt a surge of rage, a burning anger that threatened to consume me, a desire for revenge that pulsed through my veins, a need to make her pay for the pain she had caused, for the lies she had told, and for the life she had stolen from me. I wasn't just betrayed, I was being financially exploited, manipulated, and humiliated, used as a pawn in her selfish game, my trust and love used against me in the most callous and calculated way imaginable. I felt like a fool, like I'd been played for a sucker, my heart and my wallet emptied by the woman I thought I knew, the woman I loved, the woman who had revealed herself to be a master manipulator, a cold-hearted opportunist who had used me for her own selfish gain, a wolf in sheep's clothing, a viper in my nest. I decided to confront Amelia, to face her one last time, to demand answers, to unleash the fury that had been building inside me, and to hold her accountable for her actions, to make her face the consequences of her betrayal. I called her, and she answered, her voice cold and distant, as if she were talking to a stranger, her words devoid of any warmth or affection, her tone almost clinical. "We need to talk," I said, my voice firm and resolute, masking the turmoil within me, trying to maintain a semblance of control. "About what?" she asked, her voice dismissive, laced with a hint of irritation, as if I were bothering her. "About everything," I said, my voice cold and hard, my eyes burning with a cold fire. "About your affair, about the money you stole, about the lies you told, about the betrayal that has shattered my life, about the person you've become, a person I no longer recognize." There was a long, tense silence on the other end of the line, a pregnant pause that seemed to stretch on for an eternity, a silence that amplified the tension in the air. "Fine," she said finally, her voice flat and emotionless, her tone almost bored. "When and where?" We agreed to meet at a neutral location, a coffee shop near our old neighborhood, a place that held both fond memories and a bittersweet reminder of what we had lost, a place that had once been filled with laughter and love, now a symbol of our shattered dreams. When she arrived, she looked different, her face hard and unreadable, her eyes cold and distant, devoid of any warmth or affection, her posture stiff and defensive. She was dressed impeccably, her hair perfectly styled, her makeup flawless, as if she were going to a business meeting, not a confrontation with the man whose life she had destroyed, a cruel reminder of her callousness. The coffee shop was bustling, the sounds of conversation and clinking cups, a stark contrast to the tense silence between us. I laid out all the evidence, the credit card statements, the bank records, the travel itineraries, the damning proof of her betrayal and financial exploitation, the evidence that shattered her carefully constructed facade. She didn't deny anything. She simply sat there, her expression unchanged, her eyes fixed on her perfectly manicured nails, her posture defiant. "Yes, it's all true," she said, her voice flat and emotionless, as if she were admitting to a minor inconvenience, not a catastrophic betrayal, her tone almost dismissive. "Julian and I have been together for a while." "How long?" I asked, my voice trembling with anger, my hands clenched into fists, my body shaking with rage. "A few months," she said, avoiding my gaze, her voice nonchalant, her tone dismissive. "A few months?" I repeated, my voice rising, my anger boiling over, my emotions threatening to erupt. "We've been together for 6 years, and you've been cheating on me for months? You've been lying to me, using me, betraying me for months while I was planning our future, believing in your love?" "It just happened," she said, her voice defensive, laced with a hint of defiance, her tone almost arrogant. "I didn't plan it. It just happened, like a force of nature." "And the money?" I asked, my voice cold and hard, my eyes burning with fury, my heart filled with disgust. "The money you stole from our joint account, the money you used to finance your affair, the money I worked so hard for, the money you spent on him?" "I needed it," she said, her voice defiant, her chin held high, her eyes flashing with anger. "Julian has expensive tastes, and I wanted to impress him. I wanted to keep him." "So you used me?" I asked, my voice filled with disgust, my heart breaking all over again, my soul filled with pain. "You used our relationship, my love, my trust to finance your affair? You used me like an ATM, a convenient source of income, a means to an end?" "I didn't mean to hurt you," she said, but the words sounded hollow, devoid of any genuine remorse. A pathetic attempt to absolve herself of guilt, a lie that I could no longer believe. "You've destroyed everything," I said, my voice shaking with emotion, tears welling up in my eyes, tears of anger, tears of sadness, tears of betrayal, tears of disillusionment. "You've destroyed our relationship. You've destroyed my trust. You've destroyed my faith in love. You've destroyed my belief in humanity. You've destroyed me. You've taken everything from me." "I'm sorry," she said, but the words were meaningless, empty platitudes that offered no comfort, no solace, no redemption, a hollow apology that rang false. I stood up, my body trembling with rage and heartbreak, my fists clenched so tightly my knuckles turned white, my heart pounding in my chest. "I don't want to see you again," I said, my voice cold and hard, my eyes burning with fury, my voice shaking with anger. "Ever. You are dead to me. You are nothing to me." I could see a flicker of something in her eyes then, a brief flash of what might have been regret, but it was quickly masked by her usual coldness. I turned and walked away, leaving her sitting at the table, her face hard and unreadable, her eyes devoid of any emotion, her posture defiant. I felt a sense of emptiness, a void that seemed to stretch on forever, a gaping wound in my soul that I knew would take a long time to heal, a hole in my heart that may never be filled. The lingering scent of her perfume in the coffee shop was a final, bitter reminder of our shattered past. The aftermath of the breakup was a whirlwind of emotions, a chaotic storm of anger, sadness, betrayal, and a deep sense of loss. A turbulent sea of emotions that threatened to drown me. I felt like I was living in a nightmare, trapped in a cycle of pain and confusion, unable to escape the memories of Amelia's betrayal, the lies she had told, the pain she had inflicted. I couldn't believe that someone I had trusted so completely, someone I had loved so deeply, someone I had shared my life with, could have deceived me so thoroughly, could have caused me so much pain, could have been so cruel and heartless. My friends and family rallied around me, offering their support and comfort, trying to help me navigate the turbulent waters of heartbreak and betrayal, trying to pull me back from the brink of despair. Daniel was a constant source of strength, always there to listen, to offer advice, and to remind me of my worth. His unwavering friendship, a beacon of hope in the darkness. We'd spend evenings at his place, watching old movies and talking for hours, his easygoing nature a soothing balm to my troubled soul. Sarah was incredibly supportive, providing a shoulder to cry on, a listening ear, and a warm meal whenever I needed it. Her sisterly love, a comforting presence in my life. She'd often check in, offering gentle guidance and reminding me of my resilience. My mom was a constant source of strength, offering a comforting hug, a warm smile, and unwavering love. Her motherly care, a lifeline in the storm. I learned to appreciate the simple things in life, the moments of joy and laughter that I had taken for granted, like the genuine connections with the people who truly cared about me, the ones who had been there for me through thick and thin, the ones who had shown me the true meaning of love and loyalty. The legal process was messy, complicated, and emotionally draining, a long and arduous battle that required unwavering determination and meticulous attention to detail. Rebecca, my lawyer, was a force to be reckoned with, a skilled professional who fought for me relentlessly. She handled everything with professionalism, efficiency, and unwavering support, guiding me through the complex legal procedures with a calm and reassuring demeanor. She filed a restraining order against Amelia, preventing her from contacting me or coming near my home, a necessary measure to protect myself from her potential harassment and to ensure my safety and peace of mind. She also initiated the process of dividing our assets, ensuring that I recovered all the funds that had been misappropriated from our joint account. A long and arduous battle that required meticulous documentation and unwavering determination, a fight to reclaim what was rightfully mine. It was a grueling process, but Rebecca fought for me relentlessly, ensuring that I received what was rightfully mine, that justice was served. Her meticulous attention to detail and strategic thinking were invaluable in navigating the complexities of the legal system. News of Amelia and Julian's affair spread like wildfire through their company, the gossip mill churning out scandalous details with each passing day, exposing their deceit and shattering their carefully constructed reputations. The fallout was swift and severe, a public humiliation that exposed their betrayal and tarnished their professional standing. Julian was fired from his position, his career in ruins, his reputation as a ruthless negotiator and charming ladies' man tarnished beyond repair, his professional life a wasteland. Amelia was also terminated shortly after, her career prospects bleak, her professional life in shambles, her reputation as a trustworthy employee destroyed. Their affair, born of ambition and lust, had cost them everything: their careers, their reputations, and their dignity. A few weeks later, I received a call from Amelia, a desperate plea for help that I found both pathetic and infuriating, a last-ditch attempt to manipulate me. Her voice was trembling, filled with desperation, her words laced with crocodile tears, her tone pleading and manipulative. She had been evicted from her apartment, her belongings repossessed, and she had no money, no job, and nowhere to go, a stark contrast to the life of luxury she had been living at my expense. She begged me to help her, to give her another chance, to forgive her for the pain she had caused, to take her back. "Please, Ethan," she pleaded, her voice cracking with emotion, her words dripping with self-pity, her tone manipulative. "I have nowhere to go. I made a mistake, I know, but I'm begging you to help me. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. I was blinded by love." "You made your bed," I said, my voice cold and unforgiving, my heart hardened by her betrayal, my soul filled with disgust. "Now you have to lie in it. You made your choices, and you have to face the consequences. You chose him, you chose money, you chose lies." "I'm sorry," she sobbed, her voice filled with despair, her words echoing with a hollow emptiness, her tone desperate and manipulative. "I never meant to hurt you. I was blinded by ambition, by Julian's promises, by the allure of power and wealth. I thought I loved him." "You did hurt me," I said, my voice firm and resolute, my eyes burning with a cold fire, my heart filled with contempt. "You hurt me deeply, and I can't forgive you. You shattered my trust. You destroyed my faith in love. You used me, and you betrayed me. I can't help you, Amelia." You have to find your own way now. You have to live with what you've done. I hung up, feeling a mix of pity and disgust, a strange cocktail of emotions that left me feeling empty and drained, a sense of closure mixed with a lingering ache. I knew I had made the right decision, that I couldn't allow her back into my life, that I couldn't forgive her betrayal, but it didn't make the pain any less real, the memories any less vivid, or the scars any less deep. Amelia's life spiraled downwards. She moved into a cheap motel, then a shelter. She tried to get jobs, but her reputation was ruined. Every interview ended with a polite but firm, we'll be in touch. She tried to contact old friends, but they had all heard what she did, and no one wanted to be associated with her. Julian had abandoned her, leaving her to face the consequences of their actions alone. She was alone, broke, and utterly humiliated. The cold, impersonal atmosphere of the shelter mirrored the emptiness of her life. In the aftermath of the breakup, I felt a profound sense of loneliness, a void in my life that seemed impossible to fill, a gaping hole where my heart used to be. The silence in our apartment was deafening, a constant reminder of Amelia's absence, her laughter, her presence, her betrayal. I missed the routine of our life together, the shared jokes, the quiet moments of connection, the comfortable familiarity of our shared history, the illusion of love. But I knew that I could never trust her again. That the foundation of our relationship, the bedrock of trust and honesty, had been irrevocably shattered, leaving behind a gaping chasm of betrayal and pain, a wound that may never fully heal. The broken vase on the mantel served as a constant reminder of our broken relationship. I threw myself into my work, seeking solace in the familiar routine, the structured environment, the intellectual challenges that provided a temporary escape from the turmoil within me, a way to distract myself from the pain. I also started taking painting classes, rediscovering a passion I had neglected for years, a creative outlet that allowed me to express my emotions, to channel my pain into something beautiful and tangible, a way to process my grief. The canvas became my confidant, a silent listener, a safe space to explore the complex emotions that swirled within me, the anger, the sadness, the betrayal, the hope. The smell of paint and turpentine in the studio was a welcome change from the lingering scent of Amelia's perfume. I spent more time with my friends and family, reconnecting with the people who truly cared about me, the ones who had been there for me through thick and thin, the ones who had shown me the true meaning of love and loyalty. Daniel and Sarah were unwavering in their support, always there to listen, to offer advice, and to remind me of my worth, their friendship a lifeline in the darkness. My mom was a constant source of strength, providing a warm meal, a comforting hug, and unwavering love, her motherly care a beacon of hope in the storm. I learned to appreciate the simple things in life, the moments of joy and laughter that I had taken for granted, the genuine connections with the people who truly cared about me, the ones who had been there for me through thick and thin. As time passed, the sharp edges of the pain began to soften, the raw intensity of the emotions began to subside, the wounds began to heal. The anger slowly dissipated, replaced by a quiet sadness, a lingering ache in my heart that served as a constant reminder of what I had lost, a reminder of the betrayal, but also a testament to my resilience, my ability to heal, and my capacity to love again. I began to see a future for myself, a future that was no longer defined by Amelia's betrayal, a future that was filled with hope and possibility, a future that was mine to create. I started to imagine a life filled with new experiences, new connections, and new opportunities, a life that was even better than the one I had lost, a life that was truly my own. One evening, while at the art studio, I met a woman named Olivia. She was a fellow artist, her eyes sparkling with passion, her smile warm and genuine, her spirit infectious. We talked for hours, sharing our stories, our dreams, our fears, our laughter filling the studio with warmth and light, a welcome change from the darkness that had consumed me for so long. She was kind, compassionate, and understanding, her presence a soothing balm to my troubled soul, her laughter a melody that resonated with my heart. We started spending more time together, exploring the city, attending art exhibitions, sharing meals, our connection deepening with each passing day, a spark of hope igniting within me, a feeling that I hadn't felt in a long time. She was different from Amelia, her honesty refreshing, her integrity unwavering, her her love genuine and unconditional, a beacon of light in the darkness. One night, under a sky filled with stars, Olivia took my hand, her touch gentle and reassuring, her eyes filled with love. "Ethan," she said, her voice soft and melodic, her words like a gentle breeze. "I know what you've been through, and I admire your strength, your resilience, your ability to love again. I care about you, Ethan, more than you know." I looked into her eyes, seeing a reflection of my own pain, but also a glimmer of hope, a promise of a future filled with love and happiness, a future that I had thought was lost forever. "Olivia," I said, my voice filled with emotion, my heart overflowing with gratitude, my soul filled with hope. "I care about you too, more than words can say. You've shown me that it's possible to love again, that it's possible to heal, that it's possible to find happiness after heartbreak. You've given me hope, Olivia, hope for a future that I thought was lost forever." We kissed, our lips meeting in a gentle embrace, a kiss that was filled with hope, with love, with a promise of a future together, a kiss that sealed our bond, a kiss that marked the beginning of a new chapter in my life, a chapter filled with love, laughter, and happiness. I knew that the scars of Amelia's betrayal would always be a part of me, a reminder of the pain I had endured, but they would no longer define me. I had learned from my mistakes, I had grown stronger from my experiences, and I had found love again. A love that was true, a love that was genuine, a love that would last a lifetime. I finally understood that heartbreak, though devastating, could also be a catalyst for growth, a path to self-discovery, and a gateway to a love that was even more profound and meaningful than the one I had lost. If you thought that was crazy, hit that like button and subscribe for more wild stories. And if you didn't quite enjoy it, feel free to hit the dislike. Your feedback means a lot. Drop a comment below and let me know what you think, or share your own experiences. And don't forget to check out my other videos for more insane tales. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.